All right. Well, good evening, folks. I appreciate you all joining me. I'm Dr. Barlow, Dean of the Graduate School, and this is our webinar for students who have been admitted conditionally to the graduate school. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I do want to go through some basic information to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of the expectations and so forth for you as a conditionally admitted student to graduate school. I have basically two goals for our session this evening. First is to understand the policy. So it's important to understand the policy, how it relates to becoming fully admitted and so forth. And then also, I do want to take a moment to talk about different supports that are available to support your success as a graduate student at UCA. But first, I do want to say congratulations and welcome. Like, congratulations, you've been admitted to graduate study, and that's something to be excited about and proud of. And I want to welcome you to UCA specifically. We have lots of great programs, lots of great faculty and students, and it's wonderful that you are here with us studying at this time. In terms of conditional admission, one big question that we need to answer is, what is it, right? So to think about that, in terms of admission, generally we have two types of admission. So we talk a lot about full admission. And for a student to be fully admitted into the graduate school, they have to meet the GPA requirements that we have set. And then they also have to meet program-specific admission requirements. So every program has its own set of requirements that are specific to that program. So full admission, you meet both GPA and program requirements. Comparing that to conditional admission, typically, conditional admission means that you don't meet all of the admission requirements. Typically, that is GPA requirements. So when we looked at your undergraduate GPA, we're looking for either a 2.7 over all of the undergraduate classes that you took, even if you took them at multiple places, like we put them all together and expect you to have a 2.7, or we can look at the last 60 hours of undergraduate study, and then we're looking for a 3.0. So most likely, if you're conditionally admitted, you did not meet that GPA requirement. Sometimes there may be a program-specific requirement that you didn't meet, but 99 times out of 100, it's the GPA. But program faculty were looking at your application holistically and thinking, okay, this person, we think they show the potential for success. Sometimes that may mean that, maybe your undergraduate degree was 30 years ago. And so a lot's happened since then. Or perhaps it's that you've been in a working environment. And so they're seeing that you've got this real life experience that perhaps has better prepared you for graduate study. Regardless, the point is somebody looked at you and said, we believe that you can do this. And so you've been conditionally admitted. And that's why I'm saying congratulations, because this means we think you can do it. So the next question will be, well, what are the conditions? So the first is that the first condition that you're going to have to meet in order to be fully admitted is that you need to achieve at least a 3.0 GPA on the first 9 hours of coursework. So your conditional admission is for a period of 9 hours, and you have to make that 3.0 on those 9 hours. And the second part of the conditional admission is that you have to adhere to the individualized academic support plan. So your program coordinator, so every graduate program has a faculty member that is the coordinator. When that program coordinator said, we believe that this student shows the potential for being successful in graduate school, they had to put forth a plan that was designed to support you, proactively supporting you academically as a student. Those plans look different for different people. And if you don't know what your individualized academic support plan is, then that's a question that you want to ask. And you should ask your program coordinator. If you're not sure who that person is, please reach out to me in the graduate school and I'll tell you who you should be talking to. But regardless of what it is, it has some things like usually there's meeting with faculty. Sometimes there's things like taking advantage of the writing center, different pieces that are put into place to support your success. Find out what that plan is. Once those two things are done, then rather than be a conditional admit, you'll be changed to being fully admitted. Some things to note about conditional admission. One is that as a student who is conditionally admitted, you're not eligible for financial aid. Once you change to being fully admitted, so after those 9 hours, you will be eligible for financial aid. The courses that you take must apply to your degree. Now, in general, that should be true. Like, students should only be taking classes that are a part of their degree. For fully admitted students, we just don't have the personnel or the person power to monitor that for everyone. But we do monitor that for our conditionally admitted students. So you want to make sure that you're taking courses that are a part of the degree plan. Third thing to note is that you cannot take more than 9 hours as a conditionally admitted student. And I'm going to talk just a little bit more about that in a second, and it'll make sense why I put that on there. And then finally, after those initial 9 hours of coursework, either you'll have the 3.0 GPA and then you'll be fully admitted, or if you don't, you'll be dismissed from graduate school at UCA. So these are the two that I want to talk just a little bit more about. In terms of the first one, which was courses have to apply to the degree, your best friend for figuring out your coursework is DegreeWorks. So just real quick, how to access DegreeWorks, if you haven't already, and I highly encourage you to do so today. Go to My UCA, and there's like all those little buttons of different things. You can click on roles, which is right here, and then there's a drop down and you can click student, or you can do search. Either way, you're looking for DegreeWorks for the student, so student version of DegreeWorks. When you do that, so you're logged in and you're looking at DegreeWorks, you're going to see a worksheet. It's your degree audit, and it's going to look something like this. Now, when you log in, you'll be able to click on things like right in here, and it'll expand and it'll show you the different classes that you have to take. And if you click on those classes, it'll tell you more information about those. The point I want to share today is that if you are taking a class that's not on your degree plan, you will see it listed in this fall through section. So this particular student has a class, it was just a 1-hour class sitting in fall through, and that means that it's not being counted towards her degree. So if for some reason you go in and you see that you have a class sitting in fall through, then either it could be that it's supposed to apply to the degree. Contact us at the graduate school, we'll get that figured out. Or it literally is one that you shouldn't be taking. And if that's the case, we need to get your registration changed. Of course, we may run into issues right now because, drop and add and the timing of this particular webinar, but you can work with us in the graduate school and we'll get that corrected. My admissions folks, Colleen and Taylor, so those are names that perhaps you recognize, should have been checking this. So you should be okay, but do double check and make sure you don't have courses sitting in fall through. The second part of that was that you can only take 9 hours on as a conditionally admitted student. So, some of our students are here full time, they're taking 9 hours, and that means at the end of this semester, you would need to have your GPA of 3.0, and you'll either be fully admitted or you would be dismissed. But there's absolutely nothing that says you have to take those 9 hours all in one semester. So, one obvious way to do this is you could take one class at a time. That's fine. And then at the end of those 9 hours, we would check to see, are you fully admitted or will you be dismissed? You can take, obviously, 6 and 3. That would work. At the end of that, full admission or dismissal. You could flip that too, right? You could take like 3 hours this semester, 6 hours next semester. That's a possibility. Here's what cannot happen, and that is 6 hours and then 6 hours. If we allow that, we run into problems because number one, you're only allowed 9 hours as a conditional student. And then if something happens in this second semester, You know, we can't say, well, we'll choose to use the A as a part of your conditional admission so that you can become fully admitted, and then not include like maybe an F. So we don't have a choice of those extra hours, and they could actually hurt you. So 6 and 6, not an option. You have to keep it at 9. So I'm going to switch now to my second goal, which was to talk about academic supports. First academic support is Navigate. And really, right now, that's all I can tell you about Navigate. Navigate is a new system that the university started using last year for undergraduates. So if you were an undergraduate student at UCA last year, you might have been exposed to Navigate. This is the first year that we've been able to use it for graduate students. So I don't even have like screenshots or images or anything to show you. But what I can tell you is it is a system for monitoring students' progress. And so it is very likely that at some point in this semester, we will probably send a note out to your faculty members that are teaching you and say, hey, give us an update on how so-and-so is doing in their class. This will allow us, if there's some concerns, to reach out to you and say, okay, hey, what could we be doing differently to better support you in your work? It also is a system that will allow a faculty member unsolicited, so they could just on their own send a message out to you and say, look, I'm worried about you. Please come see me. And we would have access to those messages. So it's just really a nice way for us all to be on the same page and tracking your academic progress. I hope to be able to tell y'all more about Navigate in a future session. Other academic supports, as I mentioned earlier, there is an academic support plan that's been developed for you specifically by the program coordinator for your program. And again, if you're not sure who that person is, if you're sitting there going, I don't know anything about an academic support plan, then reach out to me and I can tell you who you should be talking to. I can even find a copy of your academic support plan because all of those were submitted to us in Slate at the time of your admission. Another academic support that we have in place is your advisor and your instructors. Please talk to them. They want to see you succeed and they want to help you to be successful. I can't tell y'all how many times I've talked to graduate students and they're in a problem, like something's wrong. When they're talking to me, that's usually what's happening. So something's wrong and I say, did you talk to the faculty member? And they'll tell me no. And I'm like, oh, if you'd only talk to the faculty member. So they are here. They want to help you, they want to see you be successful. So they are a part of your academic supports. Reach out to them and know that they're willing to help. And if for some reason you've got a faculty member, an advisor, someone who is not responding to your emails, then reach out to me and I will make sure that we get them on track in terms of responding to your messages. I don't anticipate you having that problem, but if you did, let me know and let me advocate on your behalf. Another academic support we have is the Center for Writing and Communication, or the CWC. So if you're in a class that is writing intensive, if you are in a class that has presentations to give, let these people help you. That's what they're there for. They can read your paper, give you feedback. They can help you think through the process of developing a paper. They can give you tips on presentations and so forth. And they'll do it virtually. So you don't have to come to campus to work with them. You can set up virtual appointments, talk with them. They will help you. They are here to support you as well. As I've already mentioned, look at your DegreeWorks audit. That is a plethora of information in there about your program, your courses, and the expectations for those. So know that that is something that will support you as you move through your graduate program. Use the library's research coaches. There are people at the library and they want to help you. If you see yourself having to put together a paper around a topic, they will help you to identify sources of information. They'll help you to develop the skills for finding those sources on your own. You may have written papers before, but maybe you weren't being held to look for research literature. They can talk to you about the difference between a research source versus, internet sources and so forth. So anyway, they're great people and they want to help you. So know that they are there to work with you. And then we also have the Office of Student Success, and I encourage you to reach out to them. I do want to be honest, like everything they write about is for undergraduates, and a lot of it's specifically focused on freshmen. So if you can just kind of set that aside, they have resources on their website. They have workshops and things that are all beneficial for all students. You just have to remember, like, don't let it bother you that they are talking about freshmen. That information is still good around student success. So that is a support that you have. But in addition to academic supports, we also want to focus on well-being supports. Well-being plays a key role in terms of your academic success, and we know that. So we want to make sure that you're attending to, like, just taking care of yourself. I hope that you attended new graduate student orientation last week and had the opportunity to hear John Scott as he talked about, I think he talked about the imposter phenomenon last week. But John Scott is a graduate assistant and his sole purpose is to support our graduate students. So if you have questions, if you need help looking for resources, if you just want somebody to talk to, John Scott's your man. There's his email on my screen. His information is also on our website. He is more than willing to do whatever he can to help you. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll find the answers. So please know that he is a resource. Reach out to him. He has done Mindfulness Mondays, which has been really great. Those are all recorded. They're on our YouTube channel. He's done lots of podcast interviews with me. Those are available with my podcast, and I'll talk about that in a second. So he's just rich with information, and he is a licensed counselor. So he's someone that's great to talk to. Speaking of counseling, we do have the Counseling Center at UCA, so please take advantage of the Counseling Center. I believe they're able to do telemedicine now, and so it used to be the case that you had to always go there, but now I don't think you have to. So if you're an online student, know that that's a resource for you as well. Take advantage of the Hyper, and if you are an online student, so you're not here, just get out and be active. But for those of us that are able to access the Hyper, that is a resource. It's a place where you can go and exercise and, you know, just kind of shake off all the stuff of the day, and that's a part of your own well-being and self-care. So the Hyper is definitely something you want to check out. So I had two goals today. One, understanding the policy itself, and then two, talking about the supports that are in place. I do want to say, you know, at the graduate school, we're here, always wanting to help you answer your questions and so forth. My staff is sort of small. I don't have an administrative assistant anymore. So we only answer the phones at certain times. And if you've tried to call you, you may already know that. But if you call us between 9 and 10:30, 1:30 and 3, then we are able to answer the phones and we are happy to talk to you. Otherwise, we encourage you to reach out to us via email, and you can email ucagradschool@uca.edu, and then we check that all the time and we forward it out to whoever is the person that needs to answer that message. I'm Dean Barlow, and so there's my email. I've said several times tonight, if you have this issue, please email me and I'll see what I can do. So know that you can email me with questions, concerns, issues that you're running into. Our YouTube channel has previous webinars that we've done, and there's lots of information that would support you. So I encourage you to look there and see what else there. We have social media accounts and we send information out on social media. So I encourage you to follow us. And then also I have a podcast, Grad Chats with Dr. B, which I absolutely love talking to people. Sometimes I'm talking with faculty, sometimes I'm talking with students. And I get a lot of feedback from people who listen because it's ideas that are useful to you as a graduate student. In the past, we've talked about nutrition, gratitude, imposter phenomenon, things of that nature. This semester, we've got a 3-part series coming out on writing as a graduate student, and I have faculty who are giving some insights into how to be a successful writer as a graduate student. We also have one that's coming out on neurodiversity and one on fees, I believe, like how to make the most of your fees. Oh, and one on how to be connected. So just really great topics. They're specific to graduate students. We don't mention undergraduate, and so that's a big deal, right? And so I hope that you'll find Grad Chats with Dr. B. It's on wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify. It's on all of those places. So with that, I flew through that information. I told y'all I wasn't going to take too much of your time this evening, but I'll pause and see if anyone has any questions. You can use the Q&A feature to put your questions in. And I will advise you too, to if you find yourself like not doing so well, like look at the withdrawal dates and things. Like if you're in a 30-hour program, an F is going to kill you. So you're better off to withdraw from the class if that's a possibility. But here's the thing. The research tells us that graduate students don't withdraw from classes because they can't do the work. Like that's not the reason a graduate student withdraws. A graduate student withdraws because they fall behind. So you've got all these things competing. Perhaps you have family, perhaps you have work, and then you have school. So all these things are competing against you for time. And you find yourself like slowly falling behind, and then suddenly you can't get caught back up. And so that's why most students, graduate students, will end up withdrawing. It's not because they can't do the work, it's because they've fallen behind. So again, if you've got a question, please drop those in the Q&A. Okay, so I've got one. Okay, so this question, I referenced the graduate school orientation. And so the question is, were y'all supposed to attend that? Because this person didn't hear about it. So we had a new student graduate school orientation last week. It was Monday and Tuesday. So if you were not able to make that, then I encourage you to find it on our YouTube channel. I'm not sure whether they've posted it yet or not, but once it goes up, we'll send a message out to all of our new graduate students to say, hey, this is available on our channel. And then I encourage you to watch it. I talked a little bit about some of the policy things that are different about graduate school compared to undergraduate. And they're things that I've seen people like kind of bump up against and they didn't realize it. So for example, like there's no grade forgiveness policy at the graduate school, you know? And so if you go into graduate study thinking there is, you're shocked when you might need it and it's not there. So I encourage you to watch that on our YouTube channel. The other thing we did, John Scott talked a little bit about imposter phenomenon and like the signs of that, and thinking about how like we all feel it. We all think maybe I shouldn't be here, but the reality is we chose to like bring you into graduate school. You earned a spot in graduate school, so you totally need to be there. So that's a really great orientation session that we did last week, and it will be on our YouTube channel. Good question. I will say, this is a question I typically get, excuse me, it's so people will want to know, like, do I know who all's here? Because y'all are, it's a webinar setting, so I can't necessarily see you all, and you know, you can't see each other. So yes, as soon as I end the webinar, I pull a report, and that report shows me like who was here, who stayed on the whole time, who had registered but isn't here, and then I'll hand that over to Colleen and Taylor, who are two people who are monitoring attendance for conditionally admitted students. And so what they'll do is then contact those folks that weren't here and tell them what their next steps are. So yes, I know who's here, and we will keep a record of that in the graduate school. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions. So again, thank you all for joining me this evening. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of expectations. And I wanted to make sure that you all are talking to your program coordinator. You're aware of that academic support plan that's unique to you, as well as other resources that we have. So enjoy your semester. I hope you have a wonderful semester, but please know that if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me or to reach out to the graduate school in general, because that's our job, is to support you and help you to move through this program successfully, because we want to see you graduate. So y'all have a good evening. Okay, bye-bye.